In today's video I'll talk about how we can help friends or colleagues or loved ones change and grow, and why it's important that we don't force it upon them, and how doing so can potentially damage them. You see, 2 years ago I was working in a very negative and toxic environment, and it was seriously damaging my mental state, and it was damaging my physical body, my health. My family started picking up on this even though I was traveling, because they noticed that I didn't have any personal freedom whatsoever. I didn't have time to call home, and I was always being stressed. To the point where during a family birthday they discussed that one of them should call me and convince me to get back home. So my aunt is calling me, trying to tell me and help me understand how it's a bad situation that I'm in that is not healthy for me. And even though she was completely right, there is literally nothing that she could have said or done in that moment that would change my mind. I was so convinced about the place I was going and the place that I was in being the right thing for me that there is nothing that she could have done to change my mind. Straight after the call, I go to a meditation retreat under which that I'm suddenly starting to realize how much pain that I'm actually in. And I would love to give her credit for it, but in all honesty, it just came from me being in a constant state of stress and panic and terror because of the environment that I was in. So I'm starting to slowly realize during the meditation that I need to leave. And finally, a month after, I tell my boss, look, I'm not in a good place anymore. I need to go home. This isn't working for me any longer. And I finally leave. But again, there's literally nothing that she could have said or done, or any of my family members or friends for that matter, could have said or done to me that would actually change my mind about the place that I was in and about leaving. It all came from within. And if they would have tried even harder, my aunt was smart and she didn't force me to make any decisions, or try to force me to leave, or try to force me to realize that it was bad for me. And if she would have done so, I would have been even more opposed to that idea of leaving. I would have been upset with her, and I would have seen her as my enemy. I would have started to push her further away. You see, as Dale Carnegie said, who's the author of How to Win Friends and Influence People, an incredible book, he said, you can't win an argument, because either you lose the argument, in which case you've lost, or you lose the person that you're arguing with, in which case you've also lost. When there is two people with different opinions that come together, it's very often that we think that one has to be right and one has to be wrong. When we are arguing with each other, it doesn't become about what is the truth and revealing that, what is the situation, and revealing that, understanding each other and understanding what the fundamental truth is. It becomes about, I'm right and you're wrong. It becomes about protecting our ego, because when someone tells us that we're wrong, or what we're doing is wrong, or tries to force us to change, our ego is challenged, because we feel like they're saying that we are wrong. And in that situation, they might be right, they might know what's best for us, they might have seen the end of it and understand that what we're doing is not good, is not right, is wrong, and is unhealthy, or whatever the case is. But if we say that they are right, our ego would be damaged severely. We would have to say that we are wrong, which would make us feel worthless. And because of that, when we are saying to someone else that they are wrong, their ego is challenged, and now it becomes about proving to us that they are right so they can feel good about themselves. So if you're trying to help someone grow, help them understand why something that they're doing is toxic to them, you might have their best intention in mind, and you might be completely right. But as soon as you start telling them that what they're doing is wrong, very, very, very often their ego would be challenged. And if you convince them forcefully that what they're doing is wrong, they will maybe in that moment say that you're right, but they will start feeling a sense of hatred, resentment towards you, and very, very likely feel that same resentment towards themselves because they gave up what they believed in because you put pressure on them. You see, when you put pressure on someone, they might tell you that you're right. They might do as you want them to do in that moment, but they'll be resentful if they don't feel like they had the freedom of choosing for themselves. And even further, let's say that you want to convince someone to do things in a certain way or go in a different direction. Let's say that they're in school and you think that they should rather quit school to work for themselves, or you think that they should go to school to be smarter, to learn, to get an education. If you're forcing them to do it, they'll do it from the wrong place, because then they'll wonder, oh, I never did what I wanted to do. What if I would have gone with my heart? What if I would have believed in myself and gone for what I believed in? And so even if you get them to that place you want them to get to, they'll be getting there in the wrong way. Does that make sense? They'll be getting there because you told them to get there, and so they won't fully believe that they're supposed to be in that place. If you're telling someone to go to school and you're forcing them to understand why they need to do it, why it's important, and they aren't fully convinced because you just forced them to do it, you just forced them to believe it, then once they're in school, they'll have this underlying feeling of, oh, I shouldn't be here. And so maybe they'll start performing bad, or maybe they just feel a resentment towards the life that they are living because it isn't lived on their terms. So it's much, much more important that they're getting there from exploring themselves, from trying to find the right path for themselves. And you can surely help them get there. You can surely help them realize what's best for them. But you aren't doing that by telling them what it is. You're doing that by helping them, by first understanding them and then asking questions to help them better understand themselves. By asking questions to understand them, and as you're doing that, you're revealing the truth with them. And once you reveal that, they'll feel a sense of calmness and a sense of worthiness, a sense of being good enough, which puts them in position where they'll be able to make the right choice, which puts them in the position where they'll be able to admit if what they're doing might not be the right thing, if what they're doing is coming from a wrong place, is coming from their ego, is coming from them trying to prove something to someone, and isn't the right thing for them. But if they don't make that decision from that place, from that aligned place within themselves, if they're making that decision because of external pressure that you are putting on them, then that decision won't stick with them. They won't believe in that decision. And so they'll second guess it. They'll doubt if it's the right thing for them. They'll doubt if it's the right thing for them as they are doing it. And so they won't do it with their fullness. They won't do it with their full passion, with their heart. They won't be fully in it. And they'll be probably miserable down the road because they'll always be wondering, oh, what if? So if you can help them understand the truth by understanding them and helping them reveal it by asking questions, by being curious about their motivations and coming from a sincere place instead of trying to force something upon them, then you'll actually be able to help them. And finally, I believe that if you feel a need to force something on someone, if you feel a need for someone to behave a certain way, then that just reveals that there's something misaligned inside of you. There's something internally that you can work on, that you need to work on, because otherwise you wouldn't be so obsessed with someone doing the thing that you think is right, because it might not be right for them. No one knows what this whole life thing is, so it's almost arrogant of you to believe that you have it figured out on someone else's behalf, as if you've seen the whole thing, as if you know everything there is to know. Maybe they don't need to live the life that you think they need to live. Maybe they would be happier living some other type of life. But again, if you can be the one that helps them reveal the truth by asking questions, by being curious, by trying to understand them, you'll help them be able to make a decision for themselves that is right for them, that will encourage them to go for what they believe in, that will encourage them to fully be in the decision that they're making, instead of forcing them to go in some direction that isn't really right for them, or at least that they don't think is really right for them, which will make them second guess it and doubt it down the road, and maybe have a lot of regrets towards not going for what they believed in, for what they wanted truly. I hope it resonates with you. I hope it makes sense. Please do subscribe if you liked the video. Thank you for watching, and remember to stay true to you.